There is a moment, captured on a heart monitor in a research lab, when a choir begins to sing and the separate, scattered rhythms of their pulses begin to rise and fall together, speeding up and slowing down as one. Different people, one rhythm. They did not try to do it. The song did it to them. And that is what I want to show you today. When a room full of people sings to God together, their bodies begin to physically tune to one another, the way an orchestra tunes to a single note before the music starts. After hundreds of hours, with both the neuroscience and the oldest Christian writings I could find, I am convinced of something strange and beautiful. What a brain scanner filmed only recently. The ancient church built into its daily life more than 1,500 years ago. By the end of this, you will know the one shift that turns worship from a private performance into something shared. And it is almost certainly not the part you have been focusing on. We will look at why singing feels flat for so many people, what is happening in your body when it does, and the 5 movements that take you from a soloist mouthing words in the back row to one note inside a single chord. But before any of that makes sense, I have to show you why the thing most of us do in church quietly switches the whole mechanism off. Most advice about worship tells you to try harder to feel something, close your eyes, mean it more, work up the emotion. And to be fair, that advice comes from a good place, because worship was never meant to be cold or mechanical. But if you have ever stood in a service manufacturing a feeling that would not come, you know how that ends. You leave more tired and more alone than when you walked in. Here is the flaw in that advice. It treats worship as something that starts in your head and trickles down into your body. The research points the other way. The feeling is not the cause. It is the result of something your body does first, and that something is breath. When you sing a line, you take a long, slow exhale across the words, and a slow exhale gently puts the brakes on your heart through the calming branch of your nervous system, the part that signals you are safe. Sing the next line, exhale again, and your heart settles into the shape of the song. Now put 100 people in a room singing the same line. In a study published in the journal Frontiers in Psychology in 2013, researchers wired up 15 singers and watched their hearts speed up and slow down together as they sang, with the slow, steady, repeating songs pulling them into the tightest match of all. And this is not a small group trick. In the journal Evolution and Human Behavior in 2016, researchers found that the bonding and a jump in people's tolerance for pain, which scientists read as a window onto the body's own endorphins, showed up even in a choir of around 200 people, total strangers included. To be fair, this research is young, and not every choir falls into step the same way. But the direction is hard to miss. If this is already making sense, take a second to subscribe and tell me in the comments what city you are listening from, because it genuinely helps this channel grow. So science can tell us in detail that singing together tunes us, but it raises a harder question it cannot answer on its own, because a machine can prove that your pulse fell into step with the stranger beside you. It can measure the chord. What it can never tell you is why you should gather week after week for the rest of your life, or what note the whole room is meant to be tuning to. Science is brilliant at naming what happens. It is silent on what it is for. And that silence is exactly where the ancient church begins to speak. Listen to how old this knowledge is. In the second book of Chronicles, chapter 5, at the dedication of the temple, the trumpeters and singers were, in its words, as one, to make one sound to be heard. And the very moment the many became one sound, the presence of God filled the house like a cloud. Read that as a worshipper and it is holy. Read it as someone who has seen the heart monitors, and you also catch a glimpse of something smaller riding underneath it, many bodies falling into one rhythm. The science does not explain the glory, it is only the body's echo of it. Then hear the 95th Psalm. O come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout aloud to the rock of our salvation, not think quietly. Shout aloud out of the body, with the voice, which is the very act research links to the brain's reward and bonding response. And in the letter to the Ephesians chapter 5, the instruction is to speak to one another in psalms and hymns, singing in your heart to the Lord, to one another. The bonding is written into the command. A bishop named Basil, known to history as Basil the Great, said it plainly in the 4th century. Who can still call a man his enemy once they have lifted one voice to God together? But the sharpest line comes from a monk named Benedict, writing his rule for community life in the 6th century. He told his monks to sing the psalms so that their minds were in harmony with their voices. He had no scanner. He could not have known that the breath carried on the voice would settle the heart and bind it to the people beside him. He only knew it worked. What he practiced, the instruments now measure. Which brings us to how you actually do this, in 5 movements. The first movement is to gather in the body. You cannot tune to a note you are not in the room for. The Psalms call it the goodness of dwelling together in unity, and the research is blunt. The synchronizing happens only between bodies that are actually present, close, in the same space. So the first practice is the least spiritual sounding and the most important. Show up. But being there is not enough if you breathe wrong, which is the second movement. Breathe the phrase. Do not race the words. Ride the long exhale across the line, because that slow breath out is the switch that calms the heart and lets it fall into the rhythm of the room. Most people never feel worship in their body because they breathe as if reading, not singing. Fix the breath and you arm the third movement, which is to sing aloud, out loud. The 95th Psalm does not say hum along. It says shout for joy. Mouthing the words feels humble, but it quietly removes you from the mechanism, because it is the act of voicing, of pushing sound out, that research links to the lift in mood and connection. Your silence is not modesty, it is unplugging. And if a movement like this is landing, subscribe so the next one finds you. The fourth movement is to sing the common song, not your private harmony, the same line as the room. Remember the temple. It was one sound that filled the house. And the studies found bodies coupled most tightly when everyone sang in unison, rather than going their own way. Worship is not the place to be original. It is the place to be one. And the fifth movement is to mean it. Bring your mind back to your voice. This is the one Benedict warned about most, because you can do the first 4 on autopilot and end with a tuned body and an absent mind. Attention is what turns the chord from noise into prayer, and the order is not decoration. Skip the gathering and there is no body to tune. Skip the breath and you make sound without peace. Stay silent, and you are a spectator. Go your own way, and you fracture the very unison the whole thing depends on. So here is your week. Once a day, out loud, sing or pray a short psalm. Start with the 95th, the one that tells you to sing aloud, and use your voice, even alone in the car. Then, at one gathering this week, arrive early, set the screen or the book aside, and sing every verse out loud, breathing the long exhale across each line. Learn one song by heart so your mind is free to mean it. And if you can, sing with other people at least once, even badly, because the bonding does not wait for you to be good. None of this asks you to feel a certain way. It only asks you to do the small physical things and let the feeling follow. And one gentle word before we close. If the emptiness you feel runs deeper than a flat week of worship, if it is the heavy, immovable kind that does not lift, a song is not a substitute for a doctor, a priest, or a good counselor. Let the singing sit alongside that help, never in its place. 5 small things. 1 tuning. Here is the truth underneath all of it. You were never meant to carry your own note alone. Scripture calls it being one body, knit together by something far deeper than biology. The research calls it synchronized breath and pulse and bonding. The second does not explain away the first. It is the body keeping time with a grace it cannot measure. For 2,000 years, long before anyone could explain it, the people of God kept singing together, not because it was efficient, but because something in them knew the sound was holding them together. The trembling you feel when a room sings as one is not your imagination. It is your body remembering what it was built for. So if singing has felt empty, hear this clearly. You are not cold and you are not broken. You have most likely just been unplugged from something that works whether or not you feel it on the first day. Step in, breathe, add your voice to the common song and let yourself be tuned. If this gave you even one thing worth keeping, type the word tuned in the comments so I know it reached you, then send it to one person who always stands silent in the back. There is more like this waiting for you here. Your body was made to find the note, and the ancient church has been singing the song all along.